My dad died at 36 due to a sudden and unpredicted massive heart attack. He was not a drinker or drug user, didn't even have high blood pressure. His death certificate literally says, first symptom, death. My mom and I still regret that it didn't even occur to us to donate his organs until 2 or 3 days afterward, when the fog began to lift from our stunned minds. My dad was a generous and adventurous person with terrific eyesight and a strong physique, and I know he would have loved the idea of both living on in some way and helping someone else continue their journey. I wish we had default donation in my state.
For those asking why would anyone consider opting out? I recently watched a video in which a mom explained how she lost her baby to SIDS. They found the baby unresponsive after his nap, air-flighted him to the hospital, and were able to get his heart started again, but he had no brain activity from oxygen deprivation, so he wouldn't be able to breathe on his own and would die if unhooked from all his machines. The baby's organs were all perfectly healthy, so staff approached the mother about organ donation to save another baby's life. Although the parents ultimately did choose organ donation, they explained that it was a big struggle. I was confused about that, until they explained why it was a struggle. For context, when a baby is in intensive care, it's hard to hold them, because all the tubes and wires are in the way. In most modern bereaved parent of infant situations, the school of thought is that it is less traumatic to the parents if the child is allowed to be with them for some time after he or she is unhooked from machines. Most parents hold their baby while he or she dies, etc. In some progressive countries, they even have refrigerated cribs, so that parents can take their baby home for a few days and grieve in their own way. This is way different than the past, when doctors thought taking a dead child away ASAP, before the parents could see it, was best to reduce trauma. Spoiler alert, it's not. Anyhow, these folks knew their baby was going to die, but in order for organ donation to occur, he needed to be unhooked in the OR, because they transplant the beating heart of infant directly into the other baby. So these parents sacrificed their morning time with their child's body, and didn't get to hold him as he stopped breathing, etc., in order to give another child the gift of life. Just offering perspective that people who are hesitant about organ donation are not monsters, and perhaps, more awareness of these situations will ultimately lead to more people choosing selflessness.
As a British person, it's a great move. Opting out is literally a 2-minute job, and it's going to save a massive number of lives. That said, please still do tell your family about your decision so that your next of kin knows whether it's opt-in or opt-out. It's still your decision, but if your family are the kind who will be squeamish about the thought of your organs being donated, it can help to put them at ease that it's something you've chosen and not just something that you forgot to opt out of.
Fine with it. I think we need more organ donors.
It's a good idea. As long as people have the ability to opt out if they want to, which you mentioned they do, then there's nothing wrong with it.
I can't even play the piano, what would I do with an organ?
He wasn't an Englishman, but like John Prine said, please don't bury me down in that cold cold ground, I'd rather have them cut me up and pass me all around, throw my brain in a hurricane, the blind can have my eyes, the deaf can take both my ears if they don't mind the size.
It's a win-win, an idea whose time has come. I've already donated an organ to a university music department. For student practice. When I die, my bodily organs will be donated as well.
I feel that other countries too should do this.
I'm from the UK. I'm annoyed this wasn't already a thing. I signed up to be an organ donor on my 18th birthday. I've got no use for my organs when I die. Let them save lives or be used for research.
For all I care, you can sacrifice my earthly remains to Cthulhu once I'm gone.
Sounds great. If you're so bothered about letting your organs be useless and go to waste after you're gone, then the option is there to be selfish.
I'm going to disagree with the hive mind here and say it's a bad idea. One of the cornerstones of medical ethics is informed consent, i.e., docs need consent from informed patients before they do anything to those patients. Obviously, consent is assumed in cases of emergency, but beyond that, docs need to explain the procedure, the risks, and benefits before doing pretty much anything. It has never been accepted, for good reason, that docs can do something unless you specifically tell them not to. Aside from DNR orders, but that's a special thing. And it's wrong to adopt it as policy here.
I don't care what you do with my body once I'm dead, and if it can help someone, that's good. But I don't want the state automatically harvesting my organs. That's just my knee-jerk reaction. It shouldn't be something that I have to sign up to not do. Fuck that.
I know this will sound petty, but when I was underage, I always said I wanted to be an organ donor. But now that I am an adult, the rules changed here in the Netherlands. It's the same as in England, you are a donor by default with the ability to opt out. That just rubs me the wrong way, it not really being a donor at that point. Someone else decided that your body parts are up for grabs unless you say otherwise. Something about that rule just bothers me, so I opted out.
If it wasn't for organ donation, I would be dead. I am on my second kidney transplant, the second being from a deceased donor whose photo I have framed in my house to keep her with me and to remind me how she has helped. I had been on dialysis for 5 years prior to my second transplant and wasn't in the best of places as I had started to lose hope. So thank you, Lauren, for giving me another chance. 7.5 months so far and doing well.
That's fine. People who feel strongly about not donating still have the option. I'd be less fine with it if that freedom is stripped of them. I say this as an organ donor myself. I think it's still very important to give people the freedom to do what they want with their bodies.
I guess it seems like a good idea, as long as the deceased's family is okay with it, assuming that the deceased never made a decision beforehand. Just offering a different perspective, I don't think that it's selfish not to want to donate your organs. At least from what I've seen happen to my family on multiple occasions, doctors make a lot of mistakes. Some of my family members have left the hospital with very serious and obvious injuries that the doctors didn't catch for some reason. Many people have valid reasons not to trust everybody in the medical field. There are fears that doctors might prioritize taking organs over saving someone's life, or that medics might not make sure that someone is actually dead before taking their organs. These fears might possibly be unfounded in some parts of the world, but in some areas there is corruption in the medical field. Choosing to donate one's organs is definitely very heroic, but it doesn't make those who decide not to selfish. Some people just aren't comfortable with it, and that's okay.
Not English, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to donate your organs after they become of no use to you. But hey, they give you the option to opt out if you wish. Everyone gets what they want.
Wales has had it for a while, so I guessed it was coming good. It's a good plan and could really help people.
They can take my organs when they pry them from my cold, dead body.
I'm against this for a variety of reasons that have been stated by many in this thread already. I'm fine with donating my organs, but it should be opt-in, not opt-out. Apparently this came into effect on the 20th of May, over a month ago, and I never heard about it until now. I live here. Heck, I only looked into organ donation to see what it was about in more detail than you give your organs away when you're dead earlier this year. People mentioned lots of things, but nothing persuades me that this should be opt-out. Some people said you shouldn't care about what happens to your body when you're dead. Well, that's for them to decide what they care about, not you. Some people said that many people don't opt in despite wanting to. I'd give the opposite argument. Some people wouldn't realize that it's opt-out despite wanting to opt out. They would assume that the law would be the same as before. It's meant to be a donation. According to Google, the definition for this context would be, verbatim, to allow the removal of blood or an organ from one's body for transplantation, transfusion, or research. For the definition of allow, we have let someone have or do something, which expands to declare or decide that an event or activity is legal or acceptable. In my opinion, they should have to declare whether they wish for their organs to be donated. Y'all are free to have your own opinions, of course.
I live in Austria, and this is a normal thing here for years. The only people that make the effort to opt out are Jehovah's Witnesses.
I'm an organ donor because I believe it is the right thing to do. However, I believe this is a horrific law. The government doesn't own your body and should have no rights to it without your consent or that of you heirs. Conspiracy Me also sees a huge conflict of interest problem to this policy when you also have socialized medicine.
My immediate reaction is to oppose this action. I don't think the state has a claim on my body, even post-mortem. It kind of seems like a consent thing to me. Like I should have to positively consent to it in order to make clear what my wishes are so there can't be any kind of doubt. Aren't we trying to preach that consent cannot be presumed? I'm an organ donor, by the way, and encourage everyone else who is comfortable to be one too. A good friend of mine who passed away was able to improve the lives of many people because of this selfless act.
I'm a donor myself, but it makes me a bit uncomfortable for them to make it an automatic thing. I don't like the government thinking they have a right to my physical form automatically after death unless I tell them no beforehand.
After experiencing how poorly handled, chronically insensitive, and mentally harmful the procurement process is, I am honestly against this until they have stricter standards for how the grieving family is approached. It's not a pleasant job, and a very difficult one, but they made the loss considerably more traumatic at the time. Grilling relatives about harvesting of eyeballs of their loved one that was alive hours earlier and similar, is something that a lot of people don't realize is psychologically scarring for years to come. We of course need more donors for everything, but currently the process is the bottleneck. It needs to do more.
Well, the problem is that few people know about it. I have no problem to be a organ donors, but the fact that the government decide it for me bothers me. I feel like the government don't really want this to be known. I think it is cool to do so, but I think they should do something like ask every citizen of the country if he's okay with by some way, maybe via internet, because if not I think there be cases where they'll be taking organs from people who didn't want it and would have said no but were not aware of it when they were alive. I don't think it's ethic to consider it yes without spreading information about it or make people more aware of it.
Yes, if someone feels strongly against it, they will be sure to opt out. Those in favor will not opt out, and those who are indifferent will remain organ donors by not feeling strongly enough about it to opt out. It really should be the default option. So many people are not organ donors simply because they haven't thought about it and made a point of filling out the paperwork.
American, but if doctors could promise me unbiased treatment to the best of their ability, then I wouldn't mind. Unfortunately, I've heard a story that doesn't make me particularly confident in this regard. I realize it wouldn't be ethical for a doctor to be biased in their treatment of a dying patient based on their organ donor status, but I don't trust them to be unbiased because if the rule is that everyone is donating organs then they might not want to damage them so they could save someone else. On the whole this could save lives, but I would be interested in the long-term statistics for survival rates for things like emergency room defibs or other potentially life-saving tactics that require potential damage to organs. Also, I don't know how it works, but they need to make absolutely certain that every prisoner's ability to opt out of organ donation is respected promptly. Such might already be the case, but it is worth double-checking.
It feels kind of like they told me my organs don't belong to me. Like they can do whatever they wish with them.
Go for it, hack me up and give them away. Not like I'll be needing them. Obviously with the caveat that I am indeed already dead.
That's hugely discriminatory. Because 1, that implies everyone is aware of the law and their ability to opt out, which is certainly never going to be true, for a law which discriminates against lesser educated, elderly, non-English speaking citizens, disabled, and poor people, and 2, not everyone will be able to opt out of it in time for their body to be desecrated without their family's approval. Fuck that bullshit authoritarian garbage. I'm going to choose to be an organ donor 10 out of 10 times, but you basically said various protected classes have no choice in the matter. I don't care how many people it saves, it specifically preys, intentionally or not, on protected classes, especially the poor, immigrants, lesser educated and disabled.
Opt-out organ donation should be the default. There's no reason that your untimely death can't have a silver lining.
It's the government controlling what you do with your body. How can people be okay with this? I'm an organ donor, but that's my choice. The government shouldn't be able to dictate what you do with yourself.
Been in place for years in Austria. Works great. Nobody bothers to sign out unless they have very strong feelings about it.
If I'm dead then give them to someone else who needs them. If I do come back as a zombie then I'll just go take someone else's. Thanks for watching Reddit with Husky. Hit the subscribe button for more video, and let me know in the comment do you think opt out is a good idea.